First, let me just read one page here where, you know, she had just told me about her mother, and I was saying, in the course of our conversation about family and childhood, we each produced photos of our parents. I showed a wrinkled picture from my wallet of Ben and Frida Klein taken at my bar mitzvah. She showed a picture of her mother and sisters who looked not a whit like her. Then she presented a snapshot of her father, Captain Schmidt, taken on the Eastern Front shortly before his death from Russian shrapnel. The picture shocked me once again into the realization that we were descended from disparate stock indeed. Captain Schmidt had Aryan good looks, an ornate uniform, and an arrogant, determined pose. The most disconcerting thing was that he looked like Elizabeth incarnate, though she hardly knew the man since he died before her 3rd birthday. Elizabeth told me that her striking resemblance to him was a huge emotional issue for her less than affectionate mother, for whom it was a painful reminder of happiness and future loss. She'd look at her and think of her husband. The mother favored the other 2 daughters who had more of her own temperament and looks. It was an emotional issue for me too, though I did not reveal immediately to what extent the picture was so disturbing. Our relationship was already groundbreaking for me, an inexperienced provincial boy and all too captive of well-founded prejudices. It was an exercise in acrobatics without a net, and I felt that I was growing up in a hurry. Your father was a very handsome man, I offered, visions of documentary Holocaust footage dancing in my head. It's hard for me to imagine him being your flesh and blood, and I'm so conditioned to hating that uniform and what it stands for. Is it hurtful for you to hear that? No, I don't wonder that you have this feeling, but he also had no choice in the matter. He had to be a soldier. He was obeying orders. Then again, what the hell was I so shocked about anyway? Every man the age of Elizabeth's father in World War II Germany would have had to serve in the military. What did I expect him to be wearing, a yarmulke with sideburns? I looked from my sweet Elizabeth to the Nazi officer and back again. That darling, gorgeous, passionate Elizabeth, who had not a discernible trace of prejudice. I looked again at her father. He might have killed me if I had been alive, I laughed, trying to break the tension I alone had created. She took my face in her hands and tenderly looked into my eyes. I looked right back into those blue eyes, those incredible, sincere blue eyes. I was so unfamiliar with women who had blue eyes. Ah, my Robert, yeah, my darling. What a tragedy that would have been for you to be killed. I never would have made my head sit down. She kissed me, and then again, advancing in tiny, almost imperceptible footsteps, nudging me onto the small bed, whereby we proceeded to join harmoniously 2 dissonant worlds. One more passage is when she walks into the door, and my father, hello, how are you? And it's like counting, 1, 2, Hitler comes up within a minute. Within a minute. And I'm going crazy here, you know.
Would you like a lozenge?
No, I'm all right. Okay. My mother was, you know, taking the food out from the kitchen, and please let me help you, Elizabeth said to my mother. No, dear, you just relax. We don't need any help. Everything's under control. Benny, I said with a withering look. When the kitchen door had closed behind me, a mere 8 feet away, I could hear their angry voices. They attempted to suppress the volume of the argument like they had as long as I could remember, considering the 2 children in the limited space and the fact that they had at least one argument every day of their lives. I do not recommend this as a modus operandi for couples, but there was great passion between them, and despite the fights, they engaged each other like the gears of a well-oiled machine. They seldom bored each other. These are not small attributes in a marriage. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. My father is so pig-headed and sensitive sometimes, I said. Not at all, my darling. No, not this question about Hitler. She began to laugh and covered her mouth. This question was a little early in the evening. I know him for 3 minutes and he wants me to answer questions about Hitler. I laughed with her because it really was funny, and out of relief for the fact that my sweetheart was wise and temperate and still speaking to me. Ben and Frida returned with 4 bowls of matzo ball soup. Elizabeth had already nibbled on some of the delicious rye bread, and her eyes lit up at the soup. Dear Frida, I had told her Elizabeth's story about being sick in her mother's house with no nurturing or chicken soup. How divine is this soup, Elizabeth said. Enjoy it, darling, Frida said. Essen gut, du bist ein kluges Mädchen, said Benny in reasonable German. Ah, sprechen Sie Deutsch, Herr Klein? Ein bisschen, he replied in an accent that sounded suspiciously Yiddish. Between hearty slurps, he told her of his childhood in the Yorkville section of Manhattan, about the Germans and the Irish and the Jews, and of swimming on hot days off a pier in the East River. My mother told her of how she and Benny had met in that neighborhood when he was 11 and she was 10, through their sisters who were friends. My God, such a long time you know each other and still married, Elizabeth said, and regretted it immediately. Oh, Mrs. Klein, I did not mean it exactly that way. It's just so rare that I have met people like you together so long. You must know each other well. Frida looked at Benny, rolled her eyes, and said, please don't remind me, dear. I helped my mother clear the soup plates, giving us a chance to be alone. When we were safely inside the kitchen, Frida let loose. Joj, Istenem! My parents spoke Hungarian before they spoke English. They were born in New York. It means, oh my God! Joj, Istenem! I thought I would die, she said, her right hand over her heart. Then she began wringing her hands furiously. The girl walks in the house, and he asked her if she likes Hitler. Did you never? He's crazy. I know this for years. Oh no, Ma. She seems none the worse for wear. She actually laughed about it. Even said he was cute. Yeah, cute as Shegenbeth, which in Hungarian means cute my ass. She's very understanding, Ma. It's like this European thing. I don't know. She's just more mature than the American girls I know. She's been through more, taken more risk. You know what I mean? She's a real woman. Let's take these plates in, because he's probably chewing her ear. We returned to the foyer with plates of chopped chicken livers and eggs on a bed of lettuce and tomato. Since she was entertaining, Frida had even used an ice cream scoop to give the chopped liver an even, well-rounded appearance, and had placed a garnish of parsley on each. Parsley was not an everyday thing in the Klein house. Benny was in the middle of his how I worry about him being an actor routine, how I worry about him wanting to be an actor, which included the fallback on teaching theory. His non-stop conversation at least afforded the famished girl a chance to eat. Oh, Mrs. Klein, this pâté is delicious, she said. Oh, pâté, Benny said, as his pinky went up in a crude, faggy, high society shtick. Fancy schmancy name for chopped liver. Which kind of liver? Pork liver or from a cow, said our guest in earnest. Pork liver, ugh, please. Ah, this is chicken livers or chopped eggs, said Benny, eating voraciously and leaving a nice dollop of liver on his upper lip. Delicious, oyan finom, he said to Frida, which she loved it so when people enjoyed her cooking, most particularly because she did not like to cook. Of course, we knew that praise from Benny was infrequent at best, and for him to acknowledge her culinary accomplishment, or any accomplishment, one of her little victories in the saga of their marriage. My wife makes the best chopped liver I ever tasted. It's not too livery, you know what I mean? You go and have other people's liver in a restaurant, it's too, I don't know, livery. She puts in just enough egg. Couldn't that make it too eggy? It's never too eggy. But Pop, if you don't like the taste of liver, why eat it? Who said I don't like the taste of liver? You did. You complimented Mother's liver by saying it's not too livery. And you only eat fillet of sole burned to a crisp because it's not too fishy. Elizabeth, listen to this. The only fresh vegetable he eats is tomatoes. Can you believe it? He's never eaten a salad in his life. He thinks lettuce is for cows. Elizabeth laughed, but it was true. Benny ate only meat and potatoes, disdained any and all greens, and couldn't figure out why he moved his bowels once every 2 weeks. Perhaps it's because he had the diet of the average adult puma. Frida removed the appetizer plates, including the one lonely lettuce leaf, and I assisted by getting a pitcher of water to refill the glasses. Please let me help, Elizabeth said, and again Frida demurred. No, darling, just sit and eat, we're fine.